All right, I think we're probably ready to start. If you're ready to start.
Yes.
You are live.
All right. I have June 4th, 2026, Town of Groveland Recreation Committee meeting. Here at Town Hall, Zoom access available as per normal. What is the wish of the committee?
I'll make a motion to open the meeting at 7:03.
I second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have quorum of 3. Great job. Looks like we'll move forward. I understand that Emilio is trying to connect by Wi-Fi, and so he may or may not be able to get in. We do have quorum, so we can certainly proceed. And we actually have a fifth member, fifth and final member. Kate Morales has just been appointed by the Select Board to be our fifth member. We're really excited about that. We haven't had a full recreation committee in a long time, so definitely getting the word out, and some of the efforts of this committee have paid off. So that's great news. Really happy about it. And if she doesn't come in today, I would expect that she probably will be available for the next meeting. First item of business, voting for the chair, vice chair for 2026, 2027. I don't know, maybe we can see if we can find Emilio, see if he pops on, at some point, and then move to that.
Come back to that.
Yeah,
I
so
think that's a good idea.
I think better to try to bounce around and see if we can pluck as many of our people. Maybe Kate's rolling in, a little bit later, whatever.
Sure.
And we'll go that way. So we'll set those 2 things down, and we'll talk about the 2025 Trail Enhancement Project status. I will give you an update because I'm intimately familiar with that. What is happening on the Trail Enhancement Project right now is more infrastructure work. We've been staking out the trails. I just had a good conversation with the town administrator, who explained that a few of the places where we thought the trails would be able to be are not permitted. So we have to do a little bit of rework on a couple of the trails. But what is happening and moving forward is we're staking out the spots where the new trail posts are going to go, and also trying to flag down where our new kiosks are going to be located and things like that. On that point, town resident Jim Lafferty is helping us a ton. He is helping us put together some of these kiosks. So it's saving the town some money, and also, frankly, my understanding is it's going to look even better than if we had purchased the things outright. So we're really excited about it, and we're getting really close to our first install of one of these kiosks, TBD. So I'll have a follow-up about that very soon. Additionally, the big bellies that we had, the 2 big bellies have been sited, located, and are in place. So that's great news. I believe that they have not, as of yet, been wired up or whatnot. So the super fantastic compacting hasn't begun yet, but they're where they're supposed to be and look great. And I did notice that they have at least one spot on each unit that's available for advertising. So I reached out to Rebecca to discuss, what possibilities there might be there, and she said she'd look into it. I think we are obligated to have some public service type information on them, just based on the nature of the way it's set up. But it did seem that there might be an opportunity to at least partially advertise and be able to maybe generate some of those, maintenance revenues that everybody keeps talking about, so that, hopefully this thing could even pay for itself. That'd be great.
And those are at the Main Street and Center Street ends of the
Exactly.
first segment of the rail trail.
Right, exactly. So at the very end of the trail on Main Street, right where the stone is, and the what are those dioramas, or whatever we would call it, the display that's there. And the second one is across right by Center Street, right where it breaks over the road, where there were already the 3 benches, so that's where they located, right next to that. So you're sitting down at an intersection, easier pickup for town, and really convenient to where, middle of the trail, so pretty perfect. Let's see, so we have also, we're still in the process of ordering the last of the infrastructure for that project, but at the same point, we are getting, where 3 of the trails have been essentially staked out. We may need to do a little bit of work on a couple of those, but the things that are in will stay in, and, we won't be needing to do additional staking. We might remove some stakes. And then the only ones that are remain to be staked are Town Forest and Meadow Pond and the rail trail to a lesser extent. Any questions or feedback or information on the Trails project for now?
I don't think so. No fixed dates for doing any of those installs yet.
Yeah, I mean, we had a tentative date for the first install on the kiosk, but we needed some additional materials, and so we've ordered those materials, and so that's a little bit delayed, but I mean, again, I think I'll have better information the next time we meet in about a month. Do you have anything?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah, great updates.
I mean, updates for what they are. The lighting project, 2026 Pines Recreation Lighting Area. I don't have a substantive update on that. Really, nothing can happen on that until July 1, which is when the CPC project of the preceding year can be funded and whatnot. So there's no, even if you were chomping at the bit to get started, you couldn't until July 1. So we'll talk about that in another month. Future CPC projects. At our last CPC meeting, I went down and talked with everybody and explained that our fantastic recreation committee members have come up already with some great ideas. And what they told me was that either I could, on your behalf, or you guys could directly come to the next meeting and, have a chat, with the full CPC and talk about some of these things, which are all very good ideas. So I'll ask what you guys think about that.
Yeah. When is the next CPC meeting?
The next CPC meeting is Monday, ... Monday, June 15th at 6:30 PM right here.
Okay.
And I'd certainly be willing to come, even if you were the primary.
Well,
speaker,
yeah,
but we can do it
right.
as a little.
No, for sure. I mean, honestly, I think it's best coming. I always like it when it's coming from the proverbial horse's mouth. I think, I'm happy to help and facilitate.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be the general attitude of the board itself. I think the idea is that better to get these ideas out and fleshed out earlier, so that we're not rushing like crazy people at the 11th hour, and that, additionally, when these projects are put forward, they're more complete, when they start earlier and have already had some CPC feedback and things like that. So highly recommend.
Yeah, and I think there's so much experience with projects, like they may look at these and say, oh yeah, that's definitely a design phase 1 sort of project.
Sure.
Or that might be something that can be end to end, so they can help with that.
No, 100%. And definitely with further questions and follow-ups and, hey, you should check on this, and, oh, we tried that, but that doesn't work, those sorts of things. It's a good collaborative resource to sort of get the ball rolling, and, 6-7 months ahead of time is the best for that. So so I did broach the topics and just generally lay out a couple of, each of the projects as far as just conceptually, and people were interested about hearing more. So I think it's a great idea. I certainly will be there, and happy to sort of support in any way I can.
Yeah. I was on the one Michelle had proposed. An angle I thought about that is technically the community trail starts at Town Hall. So if we can consider that path around the Pines as part of the community trail, it then goes to the rail trail. I know, at least at that time, there were grants that helped get that built. And so incorporating it into the community trail could be an angle for not just CPA money going into it. I don't know if there's any left in that bucket
Yeah.
Right.
for that built the rail trail, but obviously that didn't all come from CPA.
No, for sure.
But that might be, if we talk about enhancing the terminus of the community trail, might, and then as you had noted, kind of goes towards the Merrimack River Trail and then by the river, so it really touches on a lot of the different pieces here.
Well, on that point, let me tell you something that I just learned, this week, right? I think as far as the Merrimack River Trail is concerned, the only way we're going to be able to have a trailhead there is going to be directly from the pines. Because the new water treatment center is going to be, is sited kind of in that back, where that back driveway is nearest to the skate park. So, we were actually just on the verge of putting a kiosk down, but we wanted to clear it with everybody, and
Right.
good that we did.
Well, certainly for the next few years, it'll be a construction. So
Right.
even if it ends up with a passable space, that's going to be years from now.
No, exactly so, and I am of the understanding, at least now, that it's not designed to be a trailhead right there. So, keeping the pedestrian traffic away from that area a little bit, especially during the construction phase.
I mean, that's a pretty
even
steep
later.
entrance if you go down that driveway to the current water facility.
Yeah.
That's a pretty steep sandy thing, so it is safer, I think, if we pull it out to the back of the baseball field there.
Well, for sure, and I mean, we did stake out that way too, so we've already got some posts out there to sort of line out where everything would be. We just have to sort of rejigger the, where the trailhead would be, and I think, but to your point about linking up with, with the walking path concept, if the town plan from back in 2023, one of the tenets was to link these trails as best as we could, and that's a strong goal of the town. So certainly, if you've got the Merrimack Trail that goes all the way out to now, all the way out to Billis, Billis Way out that way. And then you're now linking it to the Pines, and then the Pines would be linking it to Main Street. And then, like all of a sudden, you're starting to see a real link between these disparate areas. I know we're doing work at Perry Park. I know that, and that's right over there. So, I think it's a great idea. I think it's very smart.
Okay.
Anything
Perfect.
else? Okay.
No.
Okay, open space and recreation. I have not been able to clear which specific parcels were purchased with CPC funds and get a list for you yet. I will follow up on that. We'll keep this on the itinerary until it gets resolved. That's how we get things done when they don't get done in one meeting.
Yeah, I know Mike Dempsey had also mentioned there was a list of parcels that the Conservation Commission had kind of their eye on if they ever became available.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's probably more their zone for proposing purchases.
Right.
I was thinking about and it's probably not for sale, but that parcel on Garrison Street that was gonna have a development and then wasn't gonna have a development.
Yeah.
And I think with the town meeting our affordable housing goals, I think they don't qualify for some of the things that could kind of jam it in anymore.
Exactly.
I don't know if that would make it less desirable and something we'd want to look at for open space. It doesn't seem to connect to any other parcels, so it might not be one that the town would consider, but I know there was, certainly a lot of signs in the
Oh, for
neighborhood
sure.
about Save Garrison Street.
Yeah.
The idea of preserving open space, and, people do like, preserving the rural character, especially those back roads, so that could be something if we get that list.
I think you're right, and I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. I have some memory of looking at some of the old deeds or whatnot, and I may be off base and maybe misremembering, but I thought I remembered that one of the goals of the owners from way back was that it be used for housing in some sense, and so I don't know if that would necessarily align with open space for that particular parcel.
Yeah.
But I don't have chapter and verse to confirm that is actually true. I think that could be just what I'm remembering in my brain. So, but it's definitely something we should talk about. And the other point that has become crystallized to me in this week is that just because the town owns it doesn't mean that it's available for, open space and recreation or trails or whatnot. There's a lot of town-owned property that is not necessarily earmarked for those things, and then, we can't necessarily just assume that we can just throw a trail there because we own the spot. I think in following up with 2025 trail enhancement, I think it's important. That we make sure that, hey, wherever we're citing these things, we have the right to be there, and then you're not putting things in to be torn out just 2 years later because, oops, somebody screwed up. So it is a little bit of a measure twice, cut once kind of procedure. So again, if it's taking a little bit longer than maybe people might love, I would rather we do it right than do it haphazardly. So, these are things that come up as we sort of, kind of get more up to speed about things.
Related to open spacey recreation projects, there was the Crosstown Trail project that was approved at town meeting.
Yes.
I think that was the Conservation Commission driving that one.
100%.
But there might be at some point an opportunity for us to contribute there. Wrap it in. You guys have a great, and obviously you're working with Mike on that, but
Sure.
a great system for how we're doing this. I'm sure you guys want to do, like you said, consistent maps and kiosks
100%,
and
yeah.
such with that project as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that project, I mean, obviously it is way farther behind because it hasn't even been funded yet, right? So you can't even be started until July 1, but I definitely think that the Recreation Committee has a role in, sort of helping see to make sure things are consistent and, the a Groveland Trail looks like a Groveland Trail, and so when we're talking about how to build this thing, that it match up with what, so everything is consistent and sort of falls into a bigger picture.
And even
consistent with the master plan.
if we're going to print a bunch of town forest maps, if we can, like future crosstown trail, like with a dotted line on it, just to kind of have that become a little bit more, like have a little more longevity before it comes out of date. So, obviously, at some point we'll want a full new map, but that might be, and like get people thinking about it as they explore town forest, like, oh, there's going to be this other trail.
Well, see, so this is one of the nice things about how things are progressing, because we're moving from, maps to mapless, right? And so it's a lot easier for a QR code to be updated than 1,000 maps, right? And
Printed
so.
out documents that.
Well, for sure, right, 100%. And so, to the extent that we can do that, and I say that probably being a little bit of a hypocrite as I sent you all copies of the agenda, which you've received electronically, but, the point is, at least where we can try to make things a little more seamless that way. We're trying to do that. And it's set up in a way so that these things can be edited, and frankly, on a couple of them, they're going to need to be edited. But then when future things come up, it's easier to, you're not starting from whole cloth again. I just got a message from Kate that said, oopsie, I'm on my way. And I heard from Emilio who said it's not going to happen as far as the Wi-Fi, it's terrible. So then I think we'll continue, and then we'll wait for Kate to vote for positions, and I think we'll.
Unless we want to table until we have a full.
I mean, I'm just nervous because I think the problem is we have to, everything needs to start July 1.
1st, okay.
So not anticipating another meeting between now and then.
That makes sense.
I think we need to probably proceed, but I also share your feelings about it, and I would prefer a full board instead of less than. Okay. Let me just tell Emilio he's off the hook. Sorry. Bear with me just one moment, please.
Had he expressed any interest in serving in any of those positions?
Well, so
That'd be my thing. I don't want him to miss out.
Right. No, understood. Anecdotally, he travels a lot, so
Yeah.
it might. And I know he's already on finance, so it's definitely that. Let me just ask him real quick. Okay. So additionally, open space, do we have anything else about the CPC parcels?
No.
Nope.
All right, so then, moving on to Groveland Trail Workday. I think, again, we're gonna need a little bit of time. Probably in the next meeting is when we would have a date certain for trying to keep people to rock and roll. So stay tuned on that. Field use fees. I've heard from the select board that they're interested in our input on what should happen for field use fees. I think Groveland is trying to get back into, in a line with, I think the formula for how they would charge fees has been pretty antiquated and needs an update, is sort of the prevailing thought. Hang on one second, I think I hear the door. I'm gonna guess this is Kate. Come on in.
Hello.
No, that's okay.
Terrible first impression. Sorry.
That's
Got
okay.
caught up tinkering.
No worries.
You know what happens.
Okay, let me give you have an agenda, great. That's our agenda. We've already kind of done a couple of things, but we haven't done everything, and we're gonna throw you right into the wolves, aren't we?
Beautiful.
So for everybody at home following along, this is Kate Morales. She is our newest member. She was just appointed to the Recreation Committee literally today, is the letter that I'm holding. And just by some quirk of nature, the annual terms of appointment go from July 1 to July 1. So you're appointed for a whopping, like 3.5 weeks, but I understand you're going to be reappointed at the end of that as well. So you're not a probationary member or anything along those lines.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that. It's great. Congratulations. Your appointment to the board makes us a full board, and that's great news. I'm going to give you, do you have an extra one of these? Oh, I do. There we go. You gave it to me. All right. So, where we are on the agenda, Emilio was very self-effacing. And said that he trusts us all, and while he has some interest, he also is happy with anybody doing anything. So I do think, now that we have everybody that's coming, that we should go ahead and go do the voting for the chair and vice chair. Sure. Would anybody like to nominate anybody for chair?
I'll make a motion to nominate Patrick Molina as chair.
I will second.
Is there anyone else that would like to make any other nominations? I would be happy to nominate anybody if they, really had a yen to be chair, but I'm also happy to chair if that's the wish of the committee.
I don't want to be chair.
Okay, all right.
I'm good.
Okay, all right, well, let's take a vote then. I will abstain. All those in favor with the motion's been advanced?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then so it carries, and so that will make me the chair for the 2026-2027 session.
Yay.
Thanks, guys. Additionally, we need a vice chair. I think it's a good idea, and, to me, I think it's a situation where really the vice chair's, best attributes are like organization and, like if I'm not around, for something, like to just step in and run the ship. I would make a motion, Steve Hamill be nominated as the vice chair based on his fantastic note-taking that's been demonstrated month after month. And I think he's really organized and doesn't have any teething children. latched to him currently. Not that that's a problem, and if that's an issue,
No, not at all.
there was a discussion that happened prior to this.
Yes.
It's not that.
I have teeth, by the way. It's not me personally.
Figured that out, yeah.
So that said, I nominate Steve Hamill to be vice chair.
I second.
All right. Steve, are you okay with being nominated for vice chair?
Yes, I accept.
So is, sorry,
No, sure.
clarifying question.
Yes.
Is Steve the secretary of the board or the committee?
There's no
There no
secretary, but he's
secretary?
been doing the meeting minutes.
Okay, okay, so, good. I was just curious if there's like a more than one role situation, but if there's no secretary, that's fine.
So we would like to vote on that. Vote on Steve Hamill as vice chair.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll
All
abstain.
right.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Yay.
Unanimous, congrats.
Love it. We love unanimous votes. It feels good. I would also say that, as far as the CPC representative, and this is a three-year term. I would say that I've enjoyed being the CPC representative. I've gotten a lot out of it. I'm happy to do it. If somebody has a yen to do it, I'm happy to, step aside. I don't think that if I were to serve this session, I would want to serve an additional one after, right? I think it's important that there's turnover in these things and
Yeah.
that it's not somebody who's the czar for 20 years on stuff.
Right. But there's also something to be said about having built relationships and connections
Continuity,
to
yeah.
those.
For sure, for 100%. And I mean,
Yeah.
and honestly, the real role of the CPC representative for Recreation Committee is to make sure that your voices get heard and by proxy, their voices get heard. And so that, we have, a liaison so that everybody's, communicating well together and
Can-
getting the information across.
What does CPC stand for?
Sure, the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay,
And so what they do is, Groveland has opted to be part of a state program whereby they charge some extra taxes, and a portion of those taxes get matched by the state to be spent in very specific ways for community preservation or recreation or historical, right. And so there are, and I believe affordable housing is the other one. So the people of town come forward every year with projects, and the CPC helps determine, and they have representatives from all the boards across town. There's a planning board representative, select board,
Gotcha.
all the way around, so that these monies are spent appropriately, that there's some oversight, and that, that these, the sort of making a bigger pie, gets used well for the town.
and so the CPC representative would basically be responsible for attending the recreation meetings and the CPC meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Right, it's another monthly meeting commitment.
Are there any other responsibilities associated with that, other than just being the voice of the recreation committee?
Well, no, yes, there, the CPC votes on which projects, move forward and which ones may not, if there's competing
Okay.
desires and money, the money isn't there for all the projects. They help advise and, oversee when the projects get done and how they're handled after the fact, right? And then, so, it is basically overseeing that this money is spent well and spent accurately and on good things that are good for the town.
Okay. That does sound interesting to me. I don't necessarily want to jump right in, but if nobody else
Right.
is, and I literally just moved into town 2 weeks ago, so.
Okay.
But I'm happy if nobody else has a burning passion to do it, I'm happy to put myself forward there.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to renominate Patrick for CPC representative.
I will second.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion on it?
I do think, to your point of not wanting to do it again, and then our previous conversation about us attending the CPC meetings, I think it would be good if we sort of all rotate into attending and being part of that, so
Yeah.
that we have, so it's not just, like, we send you off into the wilderness.
Right, no,
I think it's, like you had, there's a lot of good conversation across boards and committees, and I think that'll be a good opportunity to kind of build those relationships so that when it comes time to rotate, or if you end up being the planning board representative instead, and we have to nominate somebody, I think that
No.
would be good.
I think that's a really good point, and it's something that's really important to me. I think many voices is better than few voices, and, everybody's got jobs too, and things to do, things going on in their lives. So it's definitely important that, to me, that, everybody gets a chance to see what's going on. One of the nice things about how things are going in town, two things. One, I do think the boards are doing a better job of, the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing. And so the communication's been, pretty outstanding since I even moved here a few years back. And I think the second thing is, the town does a really good job of making sure that everything's available on the YouTube channel. Like, we're being recorded today, and
Okay.
if you miss something, you can pick it up on the YouTube. And so, like, definitely, if you can't attend a meeting, personally, because for whatever reason, one, there's room to come to attend any of these meetings, and two, you can participate by Zoom on most of them, and three, after the fact, they're on public TV, and also there's a YouTube channel, so you can definitely bone up on what's going on in any of these committees or boards, and I think it's a pretty great thing.
Yeah.
I don't think every town's like that, so so that's good news. So with that, if there's no other commentary, will we vote?
We can vote.
Yep.
That's fine.
All right. There's been a motion made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. Thanks so much. And again, on that point, I say, take me to task also. So like, if you're hearing about some stuff, and you want some special feedback, I'm your representative there, and I want to make sure that, we're getting our things out. So Kate, what you may not know is the timetable of CPC projects. And so, generally by the end of the year, so there's a town meeting in April is when the town votes on which projects are approved. And not.
Okay.
So that's when, thumbs up, thumbs down. And prior to that, in say like December, is when the projects are due, the applications, right? So between now and say then, for the 2027 projects, right? This is the brainstorming, collaborating time. So one of the things that I asked for at the last meeting was, hey, do you have any future CPC project ideas? And on your agenda, you've seen some of the really good ideas that are already that are coming through. So that applies in equal force to you, of course. Welcome to the board. Welcome to the committee. Come on, you get your toes right wet. And but it is kind of an evergreen topic that we always want to be thinking about, what would be a really good next project, and, ways that we can, kind of turn that money into really good things for the town. Right. Groveland Day.
Well, field use fees.
Field use fees, exactly right, we were talking about that. So, I had a discussion literally today with Steve Baker of the Select Board, and he had said that they're interested in revamping how field use fees are charged, and I think the town is in general doing a lot of kind of resetting the relationships between who runs certain programs in town, recreation programs in town. So for example, Groveland Youth Soccer is not a Town of Groveland project. It's a separate nonprofit. Okay, and the same thing is with baseball. And so some of the programs in town, are we're trying to sort of reestablish how the town, interacts, who does what, who pays for what, and I think there's we're getting a more formalized, belt and suspenders sort of process together so that it's a lot more defensible if there are ever any problems and things of that nature, and complies with procurement law, all that sort of stuff that you would want to do. So, I think all the re-looking at things is very well-intentioned and timely. And as a part of that, one of the things is to figure out what field use fees should look like, you know, and as always, you know, looking at what our neighbors do is one way to figure out, you know, some sort of idea, but I think we're probably, you know, hasn't been looked at in a long time, and so I think we're probably overdue for, you know, some relooking. But to that point, Steve just passed me this meeting, some information about some of the things that are happening. You want to
Yeah,
talk about it?
So this was, I had, in the select board meeting in early January, they had that as a topic, and so this was what they had in their select board packet as sort of the research that select board member Baker had done.
Yeah.
And then I think the town administrator's office had put some notes that are in blue. And I don't think we care so much about insurance and other type things, but in the fees. And I don't see anything that alarms me. I like the idea of it normalizing to kind of market rates.
Yeah.
I do know for some of the district youth sports are a little weird because depending on it, you can have, you know, the players from the different towns, and not all teams are using the Groveland field. So but I'm sure there's a kind of standard. I guess mostly I wanted to make sure that like a Pentucket youth soccer that serves all three towns isn't getting charged triple by
Right.
player count, that it would just be, because, you know, like my daughter's team, the Shanahan Field is their home. That's where they practice and have home games. But I think some of the other, so I'm guessing it would be along that. It'd be kind of to who is the home thing. The other thing is, and maybe it's just sort of is a proxy to scale per person, but something like the preschool kids who come to Shanahan Field for an hour on Sunday in a big group of 50 put a lot less wear and tear than a, you know, third, fourth grade team that's practicing twice and playing a home game.
Right.
So, and maybe it just equals out and it's fine, but it's just sort of and it seemed like maybe in the neighboring towns, that's just how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, almost like the younger kids subsidize the field use of the older kids, which in the end, they all probably pay the same fee, and it's
Sure.
probably fine. So those
Yeah.
are just thoughts I had.
And other things that come up are, you know, like, okay, so this program likes using this landscaper for this work, and they maybe want to mow twice a week instead of once a week, or, you know, like various things. So, and there are, you know, they may want these things, but also be prepared to fund those things. And so there's some of that back and forth as well, and that kind of, you know, like low maintenance or high maintenance, you know, like these things may impact what the fees should be and how they should be charged and how they should be allocated. So I think it's, you know, very preliminary in the discussion to have, like, you know, heavy recommendations, but certainly I want everybody to be kind of thinking about what would be good methodologies for various, you know, things. Because, you know, basketball court is different than, you know, Shanahan Field, right? As far as how it needs to be maintained and what needs to be done and things like that. And so, you know, we're also with the concept of we've got a lighting project that's in the works that's going to, you know, take multi-years and whatnot, but it's supposed to light up the pines. And so then you're talking about potential pickleball leagues and maybe co-ed softball and, you know, some things that would happen in the evenings with adults in addition to, you know, all the kid-centric things that we do. So these are things that, you know, I think the select board wants us to be carrying front of mind and, you know, trying to make some recommendations about based on, you know, the information we can give them. Any additional thoughts on that right now?
I don't have anything else.
No, I think, I mean, I don't want to squirrel on this data, but the comparison between local and non-resident, does local entail Groveland resident or local as in Groveland, Haverhill, Newbury?
Right.
The
What
big
is
cities?
the definition
What
of?
is the definition of
Right.
local?
I think this is super preliminary, and so,
Yeah.
like, I think to the extent, if we were gonna take it upon ourselves to, like, put together a report and say, this is what it is, I think, you know, those would be
define
the
that
questions
there.
that we would define those
Yeah.
things and make sure that it
Okay.
was pretty clear. But I mean, of course.
And presumably, they're making that determination already, because they have the current rates are different. So
Yeah.
somehow, somebody has a rule for.
Yeah.
To say what's local,
What's local,
what's
what's not.
non-resident.
Right.
What's external, what's district.
Sure, no, and, you know, again, this is, I think they'll welcome our effort on it. They've got a lot on their plate. And
Yeah.
so certainly,
Yeah.
you know, when we're talking about that.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, as long as we can make some reasonable comparisons between what other towns are offering and charging and what we're offering and charging, right? Because there's
Right.
a difference between Shanahan Fields that has these, beautiful, nice landscaped grounds and
Right.
facilities, relative facilities and whatnot, compared to just a plot of dirt.
No, for
somewhere
sure.
else, and
Yeah.
like literal dirt.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean,
Right, no, for sure.
having traveled to many of the area fields, Shanahan is like a jewel in the
Yeah.
area. Best parking is we're gonna have a brand new bathroom this year or,
Right.
or next year with that new project. So, if it is slightly more expensive than some area towns,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
right.
much
As long as
nicer
it's
than
justifiable.
trying to squeeze into Merrimack Town Forest, sketchy,
Yeah.
gravel lot.
No, understood, and I mean, and so to the point of what we were just talking about, and get you up to speed, right? The CPC paid for the redone parking lot at Shanahan Field, which is really nice, and, used to be people were parking on the street, and kids are coming out and jumping out and whatnot. It was much less safe, it's lit now, and so there's some of that, like the parking lot's lit. There's gonna be, one of the projects for this year is to redo the bathroom there, which is going to make it more accessible. And we believe things like the 4th of July fireworks are going to be there. That will be pegged to the Haverhill fireworks, which sometimes move right around that date. So, but the point is, for example, there are some ancillary uses that are now coming into play because the field has, additional,
Infrastructure.
yeah. So these things are all, things are pretty tied together in a lot of ways. Okay. On that point, let's talk a little bit about Groveland Day. Do we off the top of our heads know the date of Groveland Day this year?
I think the sign outside says it's the weekend of the 9th to the 11th of September. It's usually that second
The second
weekend.
weekend.
Because I think
Yeah.
I think
September.
September 9th is the actual founding day, so I think it's whatever weekend is closest to that.
Right. I just want to make sure we have time to put some things together and kind
We
of
should
start
have-
thinking about that.
Yeah, we should have 2 meetings, well, maybe 3 if we had one that week before, but 2,
Yeah,
certainly 2
proper
meetings.
meetings, right.
Right, that's not last minute, so, yeah.
And so what I would say on Groveland Day is I'd like you guys to kind of think about what our role might look like. In the past, we've had a booth. Now that we've got a 5-member committee, which seems amazing, we have some bodies. And I think it would be appropriate to try to get a booth, and I can talk to Rebecca about, seeing if that's okay, and, get some cornhole, get the maps out, be ready to speak about, the trails that are happening and all the new developments at the Pines and whatnot. And, I think it would be good to have a presence at Groveland Day. It's one of the big things that we do in town, so that would be my feeling about it.
Yep.
I'd like to hear what you guys think.
And get some T-shirts, says Recreation Committee.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Represent. We're getting fancy, aren't we?
Like it.
But yeah, I agree. I think just having a presence is going to be helpful. And I do think we should maybe strategize to any messaging that we want to put out there and just make sure that everybody is also on the same page as to in terms of our messaging of the different projects that we want to highlight, the different trails that we want to highlight, the different things that are on the docket that, come 2027, what are things that we're going to be talking about and whatnot. So I think it would be good to maybe get some like bullet points down, and then we'll look at printables, signage. We don't have to get too fancy on it, but just something that will show people at Groveland Day who we are and what we do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think we should try to collectively, get that in place by the next, for the next meeting.
Yeah, I would agree.
So what I would say is the way that it works with the open meeting law is we can't email each other collectively as a board back and forth, because that's like conducting a meeting sort of.
Right.
Okay. But what can happen is I can reach out to all of you and solicit ideas, and you can send them to me, and then at the board meeting, I can disseminate them, and, you know, we can kind of do it that way. That's kind of sort of the process of it, and it's a little goofy, I acknowledge, but it is a way to sort of get things done in between meetings, so that we're making sure that we're making progress when we're sitting here.
Is there an element of this that where, like, so obviously our goal here is to encourage use of the spaces, right? And the trails and stuff like that. Is there a potential for like an interactive element of some, you know, engagement with the community? Like, I don't know, like a geocache scavenger hunt, or like a, you know, visit these trails and like get a stamp or something like that. And
That's not a bad idea at all.
Go
Yeah.
hike a quarter mile down the Merrimack River Trail that's right there at the Pines, and
Yeah.
Right.
scan it,
Well,
like
right, and we can have like,
put a QR code at the end of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
that
No.
might be a fun, like, hey, did you know this trail is here?
And
You're
then-
already at the
Well,
Pines.
yeah, exactly so, right.
And if we have some, like, I don't know what kind of funding we have or anything like that, but it could be like, if you scan it, like, you get into a raffle for something or
Yeah.
whatever.
Order
you know?
one extra T-shirt.
Or
T-shirt.
I like
an
your
honorary
t-shirts
rec committee.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly so, right. This is, no, and
Yeah.
like, listen, this is why we have these meetings, you know, and I think it's really important. And what it became clear from my discussion with, you know, my discussions with Rebecca, the town administrator, she's great. And Annie, who is her right hand, she's awesome too. And everyone I speak to on the select board, it is, I think, what the future of the recreation committee's role is up for discussion, you know, and we're not sure what we as a town are gonna do vis-a-vis, you know, recreation. You know, are we gonna eventually have, you know, a real, you know, like a department, right? You know, and so the question is, how do we, you know, kind of go from this advisory capacity to, you know, being able to, you know, really show some progress in a lot of different ways, other than, you know, besides advisory, which is important too. But, so I think that there's, you know, depending on what folks want to do and how we feel, you know, we want to proceed, I think there's opportunity in the coming years to, you know, change this in a way that, you know, may serve the town even in a different way. So, I'll ask you to sort of think on those concepts and think about what, you know, what you might like the 3 years from now recreation, you know, committee to look like. So in the meantime, anyone that has any ideas about what they'd like to do, you know, for Groveland Day, shoot me an email, and I will you know, combine all this stuff together, and we'll try to have a, you know, like a real heavy vetting next meeting, and see what we can get, you know, get accomplished. But I think having a presence this year's Groveland Day is super important. I think, I believe that there's no way that we will get through it without having a T-shirt option of some sort. Steve has his way, and I think that's a great idea.
Although we have zero budget.
Well,
Yeah.
listen,
Sure.
I'm sure that there will be donations, but of time and effort and probably resources. But yeah, so anything that comes up, reach out. And again, you know, on that point, on any of these issues, feel free to reach out anytime. I am fully available to all of you, and to all of you. You know, we want to hear what people think, and, you know, more voices makes for better results. So, you know, don't be bashful. We won't bite. Anything else on Groveland Day for now?
Nope.
Okay. Approval and posting of prior meeting minutes. So, let's take care of the first part of that. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at Steve's meeting minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
Great.
Did I spell your name correctly?
My name is spelled correctly. Yes.
Excellent.
Which is like
I
that's
continue to
yeah,
apologize.
That's a good one.
No, it's gonna be okay.
All good. All good. There is just a minor date correction that I think needs to be made. The approval of the meeting minutes section, it references December 1st, 2026.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just needs to be 2025.
See, that's how you know. It should
And I
be
only
the
found it
whole
because
thing.
it was my last name was next to it. Well, let me just make sure. And then I was like, wait, that hasn't happened yet. That date hasn't happened yet.
That is, where is that?
It's on page 4,
1, 2, 3.
under approval of meeting minutes.
Oh, there it is. Oh, 2025.
All right. I will
All right.
resend you.
I'll have, all right, so we'll have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as written with the amendments stated by Michelle. I would have, Kate, I would have you abstain because you didn't attend the meeting.
Right.
Okay?
Understood.
So we do have 3 that can vote on the meeting minutes, and with that correction, any additional discussion on the meeting minutes?
No, everything else looked absolutely perfect.
Perfect, agree. So, vote to, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I put forward a motion to approve.
I will second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kate is abstained. Now, I also have spoken to the folks at Town Hall about what do we do about the prior meeting minutes? And so the first thing is I have learned about how to make sure that the meeting minutes get updated and are put on the website, so I will be working on that. But as to meeting minutes where, only me or only a few of us were there, we don't have enough people to vote on them. So I think the move will be to make sure that we have 3 people for each of these meetings that have watched the video. And so what I will do between now and next meeting is I will, give you a list of all the meetings that need to have minutes put forward, and we will either kind of assign, we'll split up the work so that
Right.
we'll make it work. But the point is, I want to get these things, these meeting minutes up and approved and clear, so that the good people of Groveland can look at them and be able to access that information, even from back in the day, before some of you were even here.
And one of the nice things when they're in, I think the town document storage has some user interface issues, but it does have a search. So like when I was looking for the field use fee information, I searched phrase field use fees and found this in like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So, that is, and I do try to think of that when I'm writing the meeting minutes, to, if somebody's trying to search for a particular phrase, Center Street Greenway or
Yeah.
trail, like they can find those easily. So I think it is nice to have the meeting minutes up there because it can help when you're trying to research,
Yeah.
these things come back around.
No, 100%. I think that's exactly what we're trying to do across boards and committees in town, to make sure that, you can get the information you want to get. And I think a lot of times when we're trying to solicit information from the people of Groveland, we're trying to give them as much information as they want to have, and have it in a manner that's really easily accessible. And so getting people, getting the word out that, hey, this website has some really good functionality, and here's how you use it, like, that's super helpful. We've got Alyssa Lee is really great with the Council on Aging, and so for folks who are older, who, may not all have the same set of, computer skills as maybe some of the younger folks, for example, it is, she's great at getting that message out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's definitely, we've got people in town that are really trying to help broadcast the message so that everybody knows what's going on. So that said, the meeting minutes are approved. Future agenda items / planning. Anybody have any issues they want to talk about when we meet next that we haven't discussed here?
Nothing on my end.
I don't have any, I think we have a nice set of continuing items.
I think that's
Yep.
true. How about you? Anything new? You're like, I just got here. No, it's fine. And so I feel the same. I think at this point we have a good running list. Although there is one item not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting that I want to go over, and it will be in a future agenda item, is the select board would like us to basically put forward a recreation committee mission statement, plus or minus. And they're trying, and again, in the effort to sort of normalize and collaborate and, get everything sort of on the same wave. They want us to sort of talk about what we do, what our job is, and, how we intend to effectuate it. And so, I will try to put together, cobble together a draft and then solicit information from all you fine folks. And, we'll get something to them.
It's funny, because I might ask them the same thing. What do they think we do?
Well, it's, when I
We had
first.
that conversation last year a little bit.
Right, when I first got on the recreation committee, there was a lot of confusion about it too. So, I mean, this is a worthwhile project, and it is something that is not static either, because, I think there is an envisioning of, additional roles, in the future, based on how the town develops. And so, again, input, information, I'd love to hear what you guys think, and, I'll try to put together something that serves as sort of a template, and then we can, refine it till we're happy. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Sounds good, yeah.
Love it. Okay, next meeting. How is, the Thursday meeting spot in town is pretty good. There's not a lot going on typically, and I kind of like, I like that, if for us to use this room when we can. So I look and I see, I probably don't want to do the July 4th week.
I
I
will
think
not
people
be
will be away.
available on
So maybe
first.
like July 9th?
July 9th. Yeah, that'll work.
How's July 9th for
I
everybody?
can't do the 2nd or the 16th, but I can do the 9th.
Yeah.
I'm like about 75% confident that I'll be available on the 9th.
Okay, well, that's,
I'll let you know.
I mean, one of the nice things is now we are not really quorum hungry, and I mean, I think we should be in good shape. And, it's always my preference that we have everybody, but, it is not as dire as it used to be.
Yep.
So, so that's fantastic. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to discuss, Michelle?
No, I'm good.
I am good.
Okay,
I am all set.
all right, I have nothing else. So at that point, I would entertain a motion at 8 PM on June 2nd, 2026, I'd entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I second.
Well,
Oh, I have to complete the motion first. I move to motion to close the meeting at 8 PM.
Oh, second.
nice. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And thank you, Groveland. We will see you in a little over a month. Thank you so much.